A new fix for fans of Final Fantasy Tactics is here. Square Enix just launched War of the Visions, Final Fantasy Brave Exvius globally on iOS and Android. But like all mobile games, there's a lot of factors to consider before you commit. Today, I'll give you 3 pros and 3 cons for the game that will help you answer the question, is War of the Visions Final Fantasy Brave Exvius worth your time? Let's take a closer look. I'll be shortening the name to War of the Visions just because it's less of a mouthful, but despite not having the word tactics in the name, it's definitely part of the genre. That started with Final Fantasy Tactics for the Sony PlayStation in 1997. It's become a cult classic, with many publications calling it one of the greatest video games of all time. It's spawned many spin-offs since then, including Tactics Advance. It's even been enhanced and ported to other systems. That rich history makes for an obvious point of entry into the mobile gaming market. That brings us to pro number 1. It's a tactics game on the go. War of the Visions takes place in the same world as Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, an RPG gacha style game that's been around for several years. But don't worry, you won't need any knowledge of that game to succeed here. War of the Visions is a turn-based role-playing game that takes place on a grid. You assemble a squad of fighters and duke it out with enemy teams on the map. If you've played a tactics game before, you're going to feel right at home. Squad members take turns based on their speed, moving on the grid. You attack enemy units until the enemy squad is defeated. Now, each unit is unique. They have a combination of classic Final Fantasy jobs that determine their skills on the battlefield. Black mages, dragoons, ninjas, it's all here. Even some of the newer jobs in the series, like the Gunbreaker. The art style borrows a lot of elements from Akihiko Yoshida, the iconic designer from Square Enix that pioneered the look of the original Tactics game. It doesn't push the envelope graphically for mobile devices, but the presentation here is definitely nice. Assembling your squad is where the gacha elements come into play. You can spend in-game currency called Visor on banners to add units to your squad. These units have 4 rarities: rare, super rare, mega rare, and finally ultra rare. You can preview each banner so you know what you have the potential of getting, and the game does give you a few free pulls just for signing up. This is the main way to build up your forces. Having a variety of units at your disposal for a ton of different situations is really helpful. And if you have any experience with gacha games, this probably isn't a turnoff on its own, but there are problems here. The drop rates for units are pretty low compared to other games in the market. On this banner in particular, ultra rare units appear only 2% of the time. Also, you're not just pulling for units on these. Vision cards also appear on these banners. Think of them like an extra layer of equipment. And while they are helpful, it's nowhere near the value of pulling a strong ultra rare unit. All of this means if you want a strong start, you're going to need to re-roll a few accounts until you get what you want. The silver lining is that it's not super time consuming to re-roll an account once, but that's not going to guarantee you're going to get anything good. A lot of re-rolling involves luck. For more information on what a good start in this game is, Fort Misery Gaming did a thorough re-rolling guide. You should check it out before you get started. That leads us to our second con. This game is an investment. War of the Visions will keep you busy. Think of it like a high-maintenance significant other. You can see just from the home screen here that there's a lot to do in this game. And while that can be a pro for some, I recognize that not everyone can spend tons of time to keep up with a mobile game. If you want to stay caught up with daily missions, the timed events, arena, and everything else, expect to spend at least an hour a day to get all of that done. Now, luckily, the game features an auto battle mode to save you time, although the AI can be much more A than I. The investment here isn't just about time. War of Visions can end up costing you some cash. Pulling for 10 things on a normal banner is 2,000 Visor, that in-game currency that I mentioned before. Normal pricing puts that much Visor at just above $30. That can be a lot for someone who's playing more than one mobile game. Now, there are ways to farm and save the currency, but it's not going to be enough to pull on every banner more than one time. I recommend doing some research before you buy. Our second pro, you can get your friends involved. War of the Visions has co-op missions that you can participate in with your buddies. You can also rally all of your friends together and create a guild. This will get you attendance rewards, daily gifts, and statues that give guild-wide buffs. You've also got a barracks, which can give units in them more points to spend on new abilities. There are no downsides to being in a guild. It really pays to have friends in this game. The final pro and con are wrapped into one, and that's building up units. As an example, the game's first timed event is a collaboration with Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. Completing the events and missions can get you Y'shtola and Thancred, two pretty good units. The former is easy to unlock. The latter requires some farming, but it's doable for just about anyone with the right squad and a helpful companion from a friend. But War of the Visions goes beyond just having a unit. Unlocking their full potential requires awakening them to push their level caps, increasing their job levels, and unlocking abilities on the grid. This also requires some time and luck. Thancred is one of the best units in the game, even in the Japanese version that's been out for a few months. The trick is farming extra shards to make Thancred shine. All units will need this kind of help to grow, so I recommend doing research on the team you want to work towards. Now, I mentioned that this is a pro and a con, so where's the positive? This element of role-playing games can be a lot of fun. I really enjoy the reading and research involved in planning a squad, plus the variety in units means you can tailor a team to your playstyle. So with all of that being said, is War of the Visions Final Fantasy Brave Exvius worth your time? That's for you to decide, but for my personal opinion, I really enjoy it. It brings back a lot of fond memories of playing Tactics Advance on my Game Boy so many years ago, and I haven't been able to put it down. Thanks so much for taking the time to check out this video. I hope it helps you make a decision. And if you want to see more of War of the Visions, be sure to let me know because I would love to cover it on the channel. You can let me know in the comments. I do my best to read and respond to every single one. Until the next video, be sure you are staying safe. Take care of your family, your friends, and yourselves. I love you all. See you later.